My name is Oliver. I'm 36 years old. I married Jenna 5 years ago, and in the beginning, I honestly thought I'd won the lottery. She wasn't just attractive, she was magnetic. The kind of woman who could walk into a room full of strangers and leave with everyone thinking they'd known her for years. Sharp dresser, sharp wit, sharp tongue when she wanted it. But she carried it all with this confidence that made people lean in instead of pull back. My parents fell for her instantly. Actually, fell for her is too mild. They worshipped her like she was the missing piece of the family puzzle. My mom called her a breath of fresh air. My dad would tell anyone who listened, Jenna's the kind of woman who makes a man better. Meanwhile, I was standing there thinking, weren't they supposed to say that about me? Some background. My parents still own the house I grew up in. A two-story colonial with white shutters, sitting on half an acre in a neighborhood that's only gotten more expensive with time. It's paid off, worth at least $600,000. To me, it was always more than a house. It was Christmas mornings, backyard barbecues, my dad teaching me to ride a bike on that cracked driveway. To them, it was their crown jewel, the family legacy. They've always been selective with their affection. My sister, Marissa, figured that out early. She's 2 years older and never played the dutiful child role well. Fought with them, pushed back, eventually packed up and moved across the country. After that, I was the one left behind. The reliable son, the quiet one, the guy who showed up on moving days and fixed broken faucets without being asked. I thought maybe, just maybe, that earned me some respect. But Jenna spotted the crack in the foundation before I did. She slid into their good graces with calculated precision. She'd stop by with groceries just to help out, even though they didn't need it. She'd spend hours in the kitchen, cooking elaborate dinners when we visited, while I sat in the living room listening to my dad praise her homey touch. She even offered to manage their bills, smiling sweetly while saying, "You've worked hard your whole lives. You shouldn't have to stress over paperwork." They lapped it up like she'd reinvented sliced bread. Meanwhile, she started chipping away at me in ways so subtle I almost missed it. If I disagreed with my mom about something trivial, like whether the garden needed more work, Jenna would swoop in, laughing lightly. "Oh, don't mind him. He's just stubborn." If my dad complained about his back, she'd add, "You know Oliver doesn't believe in doctors, but I'll book you an appointment." Every little comment made me look careless, childish, irresponsible. And then came the bombshell. Over dinner one night, Jenna casually floated the idea that my parents should transfer the house into her name. "Just a precaution," she said, swirling her wine like she was discussing the weather. "It'll protect you from scammers. That way the house stays in the family, safe." They didn't just agree. They looked at her like she'd just delivered them salvation. My mom gushed, "That's such a smart idea, Jenna. You think of everything." When I found out, I thought it was a joke. "You're putting the deed in Jenna's name? Not mine. Not both of ours." My mom actually laughed. "Honey, Jenna's the responsible one. She'll protect the house." That was the moment it hit me like a punch in the gut. I hadn't just married Jenna. I'd married someone who knew how to play my parents better than I ever could. And while I was standing there trying to hold on to the scraps of their respect, she'd already maneuvered herself into the throne. I didn't even see the knife sliding in until it was buried deep. After the deed transfer, things got weird. I tried to convince myself it was just paperwork, like Jenna insisted, but deep down I knew something had shifted. My parents started treating Jenna like she was their actual child and me like some side character. Every Sunday dinner became a showcase for her. She'd serve the roast, pour the wine, and they'd beam like proud parents. Meanwhile, I was the guy scraping plates in the kitchen. Then came the comments. "Oliver, you should listen to Jenna about finances." Jenna was right. "You really should save more. Isn't it great having someone so responsible in the family?" I'd bite my tongue until it bled. But the real slap came at my dad's birthday. My parents gave Jenna this big, wrapped box. She opened it, brand new MacBook. Top of the line. My dad said, "You'll need it to manage everything when we're older." Then he glanced at me and added, "Oliver doesn't really understand those things." Like I was a kid. That night, I confronted Jenna. "Why are you letting them treat you like they're heir while I'm just nothing?" She smirked and said, "Maybe if you acted like a grown-up, they'd trust you too." A month later, I came home from work to find my key didn't work. Thought maybe the lock was jammed. Knocked. Jenna opened the door with this calm, rehearsed look. Behind her, my clothes were in boxes. You need to leave, she said. What the hell are you talking about? This is my house now. My name's on the deed. I talked to a lawyer. You have no rights here. I thought it was some sick joke. But then she handed me an envelope, divorce papers. And here's the kicker. Inside was a note in my mother's handwriting. We know Jenna will take care of this house better than you ever could. Don't fight her. My own parents had chosen her over me. I left that night with nothing but a duffel bag, my car, and the sickening realization that the people I trusted most had just handed my life to someone who wanted me gone. The night Jenna kicked me out, I crashed at a buddy's place. I couldn't even think straight. Divorce papers in one hand, my mom's note in the other. I kept rereading it like maybe the words would change. The next morning, I tried calling my parents. No answer. Finally, my mom texted, "Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Jenna's protecting our legacy." Our legacy. Not mine. Hers. Within a week, the gossip mill kicked into overdrive. My Aunt Martha called, dripping with fake sympathy. "We heard you abandoned Jenna. Why would you walk away from such a good woman?" I tried to explain the truth, but she cut me off. "Don't drag me into your drama. Do the right thing and support her." Support her. The woman who threw me out of my own home. It got worse. Cousins I hadn't heard from in years suddenly cared enough to message me about betraying family values. My dad's brother left me a voicemail saying, "You'll regret this. You can't fight blood." The irony was suffocating. My blood had already chosen sides. Meanwhile, Jenna was thriving. She posted pictures of her home on Facebook. My childhood living room. But now with her throw pillows and captions like, "New beginnings." My parents were in the comments. "So proud of you, sweetheart." Sweetheart. I tried to focus on work, but even there, the drama followed. A client came in and casually asked, "Heard you and the wife split. Tough break, man. People are saying she's got the house now." My private humiliation was now public entertainment. The final straw? My sister Marissa flew in after hearing through the grapevine. She sat across from me in a dingy diner, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "Oliver, they're rewriting history. Mom told me you were unstable, that you signed the house over willingly. That Jenna's saving you from yourself." I nearly choked on my coffee. "What? That's insane. I never signed anything." Marissa leaned back, arms crossed. "I believe you. But they've already picked their narrative. And it doesn't include you." That's when it hit me. This wasn't just betrayal. This was erasure. They were cutting me out of my own bloodline, rewriting me as the villain, and handing everything to Jenna like I'd never existed. And I knew I couldn't just sit back and watch it happen. After weeks of drowning in texts, calls, and backhanded advice, I thought things couldn't get worse. Then they showed up at my rental. It was a Tuesday night. I was halfway through microwaving leftover pizza when there was pounding on the door. I opened it to see my parents, both standing there, bags in hand, like they were checking into a hotel. Mom's first words were, "Moving in." I stared, waiting for the punchline. None came. "You can't just—" I started, but Dad cut me off. "Son, Jenna's in the family home now. We need somewhere, and it's only right we stay with you." I laughed, but it came out bitter. "You gave her the house, and now you want to take mine too? Not happening." Mom's eyes narrowed. "We raised you. You owe us." A good son doesn't slam the door in his parents' faces. That line, that good son garbage, was the spark. I snapped. A good parent doesn't sell out their own kid to his wife. The shouting match was so loud my neighbors peeked through blinds. Finally, I told them if they didn't leave, I'd call the cops. Mom gasped like I'd slapped her. "You'd call the police on your own family? Try me," I said, holding up my phone. They stormed off, muttering curses, but that was just the beginning. The next day, my phone blew up again. Aunt Martha, Cousin Julian, even some guy I hadn't spoken to since high school. All of them reading from the same script. "How could you treat your parents like that? They're homeless because of you." Homeless? They'd chosen to hand their security to Jenna. And yet, somehow, I was the villain. By the weekend, I'd had enough. I sat down, opened my laptop, and wrote a 2,500-word email titled, "Setting the Record Straight." I laid it all out, dates, facts, receipts, attached screenshots, the deed transfer, even the divorce papers. And at the end, I wrote, "If you're so concerned about my parents' housing, open your doors. Don't tell me it's my responsibility when you're sitting comfortably in your own homes." Hit send. 25 relatives CC'd. The silence the next morning was glorious. Until Jenna decided to up the game. Because apparently, kicking me out of the house wasn't enough. I thought the family email would buy me some peace. For about 2 weeks, it did. The calls slowed down. Even my parents went quiet, probably too embarrassed after realizing no one wanted to house them either. But then I got a phone call that made my blood run cold. "Hi, is this Oliver? I'm calling about the investment opportunity you and Jenna pitched me." I froze. "I'm sorry, what investment opportunity?" The man introduced himself as Caleb. Said he met Jenna at a networking event downtown. According to him, Jenna had pitched him on a family real estate portfolio. She showed him photos of our properties, claimed we were co-owners, and said we were looking for investors to expand. She even dropped my business name. My name, Oliver. She said you were the operations guy, Caleb explained. I already put down $10,000 as a deposit. She told me it secured my spot in the next deal. My knees nearly gave out. $10,000. I asked Caleb to send me everything, texts, emails, the contract Jenna gave him. When I opened the files, I almost threw up. Letterhead that looked eerily similar to my business docs, fake signatures, even a phony email address that was one letter off from mine. My wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, had been parading me around town as her partner in a scam I knew nothing about. And Caleb wasn't the only one. Over the next few days, 2 more investors called me. One had given her $5,000, another $3,000. All of them thought I was in on it. I brought everything straight to my lawyer, who didn't even blink. "This isn't family drama anymore," she said. "This is fraud and identity theft. We're going to the police." That night, I sat at my kitchen table with the evidence spread out, staring at it like it would explain itself. But the only thing it explained was this. Jenna wasn't just trying to take my house. She was trying to take my life. The next morning, I walked into the police station and filed a fraud report against my own wife. And I thought that would be the peak of it. But what came next? That's when things turned from betrayal into all-out war. The morning after I filed the fraud report, I actually felt lighter. Like for the first time, I wasn't just reacting to Jenna's chaos. I was fighting back. That lasted about 12 hours. By evening, my phone was buzzing like a beehive. Not from investors or lawyers this time, but from family. Again. Except now, their messages had a new venom. "How could you try to ruin Jenna's career? You're dragging her through the mud because she's more successful than you. We always knew you were jealous of her." It didn't take long to figure out why. Jenna had gotten ahead of me. She'd told everyone I was making false accusations because I couldn't handle her success. She painted me as the bitter, broke husband trying to sabotage her business empire. The kicker? She said the $10,000 she got from Caleb wasn't an investment scam. It was a loan to help with the divorce lawyers. And because Caleb didn't want to look like a fool, he backed her story at first. So now, not only was my family convinced I was lying, but some of the very people she conned were helping cover her tracks. The smear campaign spread fast. My aunt posted a cryptic Facebook status about men who can't handle strong women. My cousin DM'd me, saying I should get therapy before destroying more lives. Even my dad sent me an email that ended with, "Jenna is the daughter we always wanted." That one broke me. I sat in my rental, lights off, just staring at those words. The daughter they always wanted. Meanwhile, Jenna wasn't slowing down. She hosted a wine night at my parents' house, took group selfies in the living room, and posted captions like, "Grateful for family who stands by me." My parents and half my relatives were tagged. The comments were all heart emojis, and "We love you." It was like watching someone live in my skin while I screamed from the outside. But what Jenna didn't realize, the fraud investigation had teeth, and it was about to bite. The fraud report I filed didn't just sit in a drawer. A detective, Moreno, called me within a week. Calm voice, but sharp. He asked for everything I had. Contracts, screenshots, texts, emails. I dropped a fat folder on his desk that looked more like a college thesis than evidence. When Moreno flipped through the fake contracts Jenna had drafted, his eyebrows shot up. "She actually forged your signature? And used your business name?" "Yep," I said flatly. "And she conned at least 3 people out of real money." He closed the folder with a snap. "This isn't a family dispute anymore. This is criminal fraud." I walked out of the station shaking, not from fear, but adrenaline. For once, the law was on my side. Then, like clockwork, the The drama escalated. 2 days later, Jenna stormed into my workplace. Not a text, not a call. She actually showed up at the auto shop in heels and a power blazer, with my mom right behind her. She pointed at me in front of my staff and shouted, "You're ruining my life with your lies." Moreno must have been psychic, because 20 minutes later, 2 officers rolled up. One calmly told her there was an active investigation and that she needed to leave or risk arrest for harassment. The look on her face when they pulled her aside, priceless. But here's the twist. After she left, one of my younger employees pulled me aside. Boss, you should see this." He showed me his phone. Jenna had been DMing him on Instagram, offering him a better job managing properties if he quit my shop and came to work for her. She wasn't just trying to ruin my name. She was actively trying to poach my employees. That night, I sat in my apartment, everything spinning. My wife turned con artist, my parents cheerleading her scams, half my family thinking I was crazy. It felt like a losing battle. Then Detective Moreno called. His voice was brisk this time. "Mr. Parker, just wanted to let you know, we served a warrant. Jenna's bank accounts are frozen pending the fraud investigation." I nearly dropped the phone. For the first time in months, I felt it. The tiniest flicker of hope. The warrant changed everything. Once Jenna's accounts were frozen, the mask started slipping. At first, she tried to keep up appearances. Instagram stories of wine glasses clinking, captions like "unbothered." But it wasn't long before the cracks showed. One of her investors, Caleb, called me again, but this time, his tone was different. Gone was the smug confidence from before. Now he sounded rattled. "She promised me my deposit back last week, Oliver. Said she'd cut me a check. Now she won't even answer the phone. What's going on?" I told him bluntly, "You're not getting your money back. She doesn't have it." There was a long pause. Then he muttered, "So she scammed me." One down. Word spread fast. The other 2 investors started comparing notes, and within days, all 3 had filed civil suits against her. Suddenly, the same people who defended her were circling like sharks. Meanwhile, my parents' facade started to crack too. At Sunday service, someone slipped my dad a copy of the fraud investigation report. Moreno had made it public record. My sister texted me later. Dad looked like he'd swallowed a grenade. By Tuesday, the family chat was in chaos. Cousins demanding answers. Uncles swearing they never trusted her. Aunts insisting I'd twisted things. But the golden silence from my parents said it all. Then came the kicker. I got a voicemail from my mom at 2 a.m. Her voice was shaky, almost broken. "Oliver, maybe we made a mistake. Jenna says it's all lies. But if it's true, we don't know where to go." I replayed it 3 times, trying to feel something, sympathy, anger, grief. But all I felt was numb. Because even in their desperation, they weren't apologizing. They weren't admitting they'd chosen her over me. They were just scrambling to save themselves. And while they were scrambling, Jenna was plotting. Because when cornered, she didn't beg. She attacked. And her next move? It wasn't just against me. It was against everyone. Just when I thought Jenna couldn't sink lower, she proved me wrong. Detective Moreno had already frozen her accounts. Investors were circling, and my parents were finally wobbling in their blind loyalty. Most people would have lawyered up, laid low, and prayed. Not Jenna. She doubled down. One Thursday morning, my sister called me, barely able to get the words out between laughs. "Oliver, you're not going to believe this. Jenna's trying to sell the house." "Our parents' house?" I asked. "Yeah, listed online. Cash buyers only. And get this, she's advertising it as a distress sale because of a messy divorce." I nearly drove off the road. The house wasn't even legally clear. It was frozen under the fraud case. Selling it would have been impossible. But she was banking on someone shady enough to hand her a fat envelope of cash without checking the paperwork. And believe it or not, someone bit. Caleb, the same investor she already scammed, tipped off Moreno. Apparently, she'd approached one of his business contacts, offering the place at 40% below market if he could close fast. The guy showed up at the house with $80,000 in a duffel bag. That's when the sting went down. Picture it, my childhood home swarming with cops. Jenna in the driveway shrieking that it was all a misunderstanding. My parents standing on the porch in shock as the officers cuffed her. My mom cried out, "This is your fault, Oliver. You ruined her." I just stood there, watching the scene unfold, and for once, I didn't feel like the villain in their story. Jenna was booked on fraud and attempted wire theft. The news made the local paper. Woman accused of real estate scam in family property dispute. Suddenly, all those relatives who'd called me ungrateful went radio silent. Funny how that works. But the real twist? When they searched her laptop, they found spreadsheets, dozens of names, potential investors, target families, even my employees' names on a list titled recruitment. She hadn't just been using me. She'd been building an entire fake empire on my back. That was the moment I realized. If I hadn't fought back, she would have buried me and everyone around me, just to climb higher. But now, she was the one sinking. After Jenna's arrest, I could have walked away. Let the courts grind her into dust. Let my parents stew in their shame. But after years of being cast as the ungrateful son, the bitter husband, the villain in their story, I wanted more. I wanted the truth out in the open, no shadows left for them to hide in. So, I went nuclear. Step 1. Receipts. I compiled every screenshot, contract, voicemail, and text I had. From Jenna forging my signature to my mom texting me, "Jenna is the daughter we always wanted." I didn't just dump it all on my lawyer. I made it public. One carefully crafted Google Drive folder, neatly labeled, and one single email titled, "The Truth You Didn't Want to Hear." I CC'd the entire family. Every aunt, uncle, cousin, neighbor who'd ever wagged a finger at me. And at the bottom of the email, I wrote, "Since everyone thought I was jealous or unstable, here's the evidence. Read it, and then decide who you want to believe." Step 2. The public eye. Remember the local paper that ran the first article? I gave them more. Copies of Jenna's business plans, names of her victims, even testimony from Caleb. They ran a follow-up piece with her mugshot front and center. Conwoman exploited husband's family, faces fraud and theft charges. It went viral in the neighborhood. Suddenly, the same relatives who called me ungrateful were whispering at church pews about how poor Oliver had been conned. The hypocrisy was almost funny. Step 3. My parents. This was the hardest part and the most satisfying. For months, they'd backed Jenna, defended her, even helped rewrite history to erase me. So, I turned their own tactics back on them. I posted one of their glowing Facebook comments under Jenna's photos. "So proud of you, sweetheart," right alongside the news article about her arrest. Caption: "Proud parents of a felon." It spread like wildfire. Within days, their friends, neighbors, even old co-workers were calling them out. My dad's golfing buddy left a brutal comment. "Maybe if you'd supported your son instead of his wife, you wouldn't be homeless right now." They stopped calling me after that. And Jenna? Oh, Jenna. With her accounts frozen and lawsuits piling up, she had nothing left. She tried to text me from jail. "You'll regret this. We could have had it all if you just played along." I blocked her without replying. She went from bragging about her luxury lifestyle online to a single mugshot circulating on community pages with comments like, "Isn't this the girl who scammed her own in-laws?" By the time the divorce was finalized, the court not only granted me freedom, but also ordered her to pay restitution. And because the house was tied up in her fraud, the bank seized it. My parents lost the home they'd worshipped her for protecting. Poetic justice. Today, I live in my own place. Small but mine. I rebuilt my business, hired new staff, even reconnected with my sister. For the first time in years, I feel free. No guilt, no manipulation, no one telling me I wasn't enough. Sometimes people ask if I regret going scorched earth. My answer? No. They tried to erase me. Jenna, my parents, half my family. And instead, I erased their lies. Now, when people Google Jenna's name, they don't see her Instagram selfies or her fake business empire. They see the truth, fraud, theft, betrayal. And when people ask about my parents, all I have to say is, they gave away their house and their son for nothing. They wanted Jenna as their legacy. Well, they got her, and I got my life back.